Disclaimer: to protect the sender's identity and privacy, some information will be disguised. Hopefully, the following story can bring us lessons and entertainment. Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm pretty sure you guys need a dose of horror. So, I'm going to share a horror experience that me and my friends had during the holiday. So, here we go! At the end of the year, or more precisely in mid-December 2022, after the final exams, I had plans to go camping at Ranu Regulo in the Lumajang area. However, due to the eruption of Mount Semeru, we tried to find another alternative. And then, an idea came to my mind, to camp at one of the beaches in Meru Betiri National Park area. The beach is called Nanggelan Beach. After telling them about the mesmerizing beauty of Nanggelan Beach and its trek, my friends finally agreed to camp there. Long story short, after all the preparation were done, we gathered at my friend's place. In total, 5 of my close friends were there. There are Naufal, Naji, Rico, Nanda, and Judy. And at 3 p.m., we departed for Nanggelan Beach on motorcycles. The journey to the beach was around 40 kilometers, I think. Everything went smoothly, with almost no obstacles at all. And when we reached the Meru Betiri National Park, we stopped at a convenience store. To prepare for the camp, we stocked up on snacks and drinks for our consumption later. Without realizing, it was already 4 p.m. So I thought it was getting late. And I asked my friends to ride faster. By the way, I had reminded my friends to watch their words and behavior while we're at the location. After continuing our journey, the road started to get rough, with lots of potholes and mud that made the ride challenging. For your information, along this journey, all we could see are only a bunch of plantations and a very few houses. After passing through the plantations, we entered the teak forest. Here, we meet a local resident. He asked us if we wanted to go to the beach. And we said yes. Instantly, his face becomes so worried. Considering that when we arrived at the teak forest, it was already 5 p.m. Finally, he escorted us to the parking area. Upon arriving at the parking area, he told us to put our motorcycles inside a shed and double-lock them, as the one responsible to guard the parking area was currently out. After that, we immediately headed to the beach. There, I noticed a man's face again, looking a bit hesitant and worried about us. Honestly, I started to feel a bit scared, but I tried to stay positive for the experience. For your information, the parking area to the beach is quite far, about 45 minutes from our locations, and we had to pass through a hill first. So let me explain the order in which we walked. I myself was in the front as the leader and navigator, because I was already familiar with the route. Even my friends called me the Pathfinder. Meanwhile, behind me were Naji, Judy, Nanda, Eriko, and Naufal. At the moment, the sky was already getting darker, and somehow we forgot to bring our flashlight, except for Judy. So, the other had to use some flashlight from our phones, which wasn't very helpful. Here, strange things began to happen. Just as we reached the first hill, I suddenly heard the sound of something falling. I thought it was a coconut, but because I was a bit suspicious, I asked my friend to shine the flashlight around. And it turned out there was nothing there. Maybe it was just a fruit falling from the tree, and we continued walking. To be honest, I was really annoyed with Nanda. He didn't watch his words. Even after I told him to watch his mouth, his words were all over the place. Well, I just prayed silently that nothing bad would happen to us. Finally, from a distance, we heard the sound of the waves. We picked up our pace while keeping on being cautious, because the path to the beach was steep and quite slippery. When we arrived, the 6 of us felt so happy. However, on the other hand, it turned out that we were the only ones camping here. As far as the eye could see, there was only a stretch of beach, sand, and sea. No signs of life at all. Silence. Oh, right. We used 2 tents. First tent was occupied by Judy, Naufal, and Rico. Second tent was occupied by me, Nanda, and Naji. After setting up the tents, I checked the time and it was already 7:30. Here, the disturbance returned. It suddenly smelled like flowers all over. It was very fragrant, but it wasn't from our mosquito repellent for sure. I just kept quiet, because none of my friends smelled the floral aroma. After a while, suddenly there was a sound of a woman laughing loudly. Strangely, I felt like it was very close to the tent. But when I looked around, there was nothing. Not even my friends, and they didn't hear anything. Okay. I tried to stay calm. We relaxed by the warmth of the campfire, sitting and chatting leisurely about campus romances. Here, suddenly, I smelled the fragrant aroma again. What's this? It turned out Naji brought a hand sanitizer, which was used to make the fire bigger. I immediately felt relieved because the fragrant smell I smelled earlier may have been the sanitizer smell. To prevent the high tide from reaching our campsite, Naufal suggested creating a night watch shift schedule. It would be stupid if we were sound asleep and suddenly water entered our tent and possibly wet my underwear. So, Naufal, Judy, and Rico took the first watch. Eventually, those who were on the later watch decided to rest first. But before resting, we saw a faint light from a lamp and a campfire in the corner of the beach, even though it was already late and the distance was quite far. But I thought it was probably from a fisherman or people fishing late at night. When we were just about to fall asleep, Naji suddenly woke up and seemed a bit shocked. I, who was already almost asleep, also woke up because Naji was so loudly screaming about a crab. Naufal and the others who were on watch also entered our tent. Upon checking, there was nothing there, so we decided to go back to sleep. But Naji was still freaking out, claiming that his leg felt like it was being pulled. It couldn't be someone messing with him, because Naufal, Judy, and Rico were outside the tent. Feeling bored, Naufal, Judy, and Rico decided to take a walk around the beach. But halfway there, Naufal heard a growling sound, a heavy sound just like a bull. Feeling unsafe, Naufal asked Rico if they should continue or not, but Rico was determined to continue. But after a few steps, Rico's body suddenly stunned. Judy and Naufal panicked, wondering what made Rico stare like that. After Rico regained consciousness, the 3 of them ran back to the tent. Finally, it was my turn, with Nanda and Naji on watch. I peeked at the end of the beach and saw that the fisherman's campfire was starting to dim and might go out soon. Since there were a lot of mosquitoes outside, instead of continuing the watch, the 3 of us went back to the tent. While we were engrossed to listening to Nanda's story, Naji suddenly looked out of the tent and saw that the fire at the end of the beach was blazing high. It didn't make sense for it to be a normal campfire, so I quickly closed the tent and told my friends to just go to sleep. I woke up at 4 a.m. because the sun starting to appear. I tried to wake up my friends, and we walked along the beach to watch the sunrise. Here, I invite Judy to go to the end of the beach, where the giant bonfire was last night. And what did I find? Nothing. Not even a burnt wood remains. So, what was it last night? My mind always goes to Banaspati, but I try to remain positive. Maybe it was washed away by the high tide? Whatever. Surely, if the remains of the bonfire was washed away, they would have been caught in the coral reef. And the fact is, I didn't find any trace of the bonfire, whether on the beach or near the coral reef. After that, Judy and I returned to the tent, where we took some photos, and then prepared to leave. Here, I tried to fish for stories from my friend about what happened last night. But they refused and insist to tell the stories only after we left the beach. Alright. After packing up the tents and everything else, we headed home. We passed several fishermen on the way to the beach. On the way back, we didn't experience any anomaly. It felt like the journey was even faster. When we arrived at the shed, we immediately took our motorcycles and paid the overnight parking fee of 75,000 rupiahs for 3 motorcycles. We managed to leave the Meru Betiri National Park area, and then we looked for food. While eating, we all talked about what had happened. Here, Naufal shared that as dawn approached, he woke up and checked his phone, but suddenly felt someone grabbing his shoulder. Instantly, the entire left side of Naufal's body went numb and couldn't be moved. There, he tried to feel around using his right hand and immediately touched someone's head. He thought it might be Judy, but according to him, the hair felt very smooth, unlike Judy's slightly rough hair. A few minutes before I woke up Naufal, the figure disappeared on its own. Suddenly, Judy also chimed in, saying that when dawn approached, there was a black figure that placed its hand on his chest. Judy thought it was Naufal's hand, but he was sure that it was far too heavy to be Naufal's hand, so whose hand was it? After finishing our meal, we went straight home to our places. The next day, some of us fell ill, including myself. I had a fever for several days. When we were playing basketball, one of my friends who lived near Nanggelan beach said that we were too reckless because the beach were still unearthly and there are still many spirits there. Fortunately for us, none of those figures followed us back to our respective homes. Because of this incident, we've learned our lessons and won't repeat reckless action like this again. For all of you, please be careful when visiting a new place. At least, if you're going on a vacation, choose places that are already well known as a tourist destination, especially with untouched wilderness. Just remember to always watch your words and actions. That's all from me and my 5 friends. So, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories.